Thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brummel, joined by Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
Jeff Wagstaff.
Hello.
And world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonatti.
Hello.
An article recently caught our attention about a pony named Angel Marie who was too crippled to walk. Then a certified orthotist in Virginia named Derrick Campana came to her rescue, designing a new prosthetic limb for Angel Marie, allowing her to walk again. It was a real touching story, and we invited Derrick on to talk about it. So thank you for being here.
You do great work, Derrick. In
Yes.
fact, the media has even dubbed you the Dr.Doolittle of animal prosthetics.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that nickname?
Yeah, I just heard that myself a few weeks ago. Hey, I'll take it,
Very cool.
So tell us about Angel Marie and that story,
Yeah.
because actually, Kimberly, you're the one that found this story and sent it to me.
It was
and you were like,
it was
oh.
so inspiring and heartbreaking at the same time.
Yeah.
We get a lot of animals that have these types of stories, and Angel Marie is definitely a special one. She was stepped on at about 2 days old after birth and by her mother, and broke one of the legs severely and injured the other one. So her owner, Lenny, came to us and asked if we could be of assistance, and we built her an orthotic device and a prosthetic device, and she's adapted to them over the last about 6 months.
We saw the photos. Is she a mini?
She is a mini pony, mini horse actually, because she's full grown now.
She's absolutely adorable in the photos.
And Derrick, you've got a lot of great stories, and we'll get into a bunch of those, but you actually started out making prosthetic limbs for humans. What made you transition into animals?
We had a dog named Charles come into my human prosthetic company, and it was kind of a shock because at that point, around 12 years ago, no one's ever heard of doing anything like that. And I said, I'll give it a try. I did, and it was successful, and a light bulb went off, and I said, hey, I should start a business. I know there's a lot of animals out there in need of these types of services, and grown into the big worldwide company we are today.
Derrick or Dr. Doolittle, whichever you prefer to be called.
Dr. Derrick Doolittle.
It's just such an incredible mission that you're doing. And I'm just curious, can the average veterinarian, if he came across this across the country, are they able to reach out to you and then fit animals, or do they have to come directly to you?
80 to 90% of every patient we see is non-local, so I never actually end up seeing them. We send casting kits all over the world. We have instructional videos on how to cast for orthotic and prosthetic devices. I talk to surgeons every day, and we try to educate them on our technologies and how to do amputations with a prosthesis in mind. Just recently, I created something called an iPop, an immediate post-operative prosthesis. So if I know ahead of time you're going to do an amputation, we can fit this immediate post-operatively. A dog or any other animal can wake up on all fours with no downtime, and that helps to transition the animal to the definitive prosthesis a lot easier.
And how long does it typically take these animals to adapt to that? Because we've filmed for our television version. We went to Clearwater Marine Aquarium and spoke with everybody that had to do with Winter the dolphins. You know, dolphin's tail, that whole thing takes a while, doesn't it? Or do some of them take to it immediately?
It's all over the board, like you just said. I used to work for Hanger Prosthetics, the same guy that
Yes.
Winter.
Winter the dolphin. And
Very cool.
yeah, it's all over the board. Some adapt to them right away, like I said, and some never do. We can kind of generalize on how a dog or animal will react just from their breed, size, weight, things like that. You never know. That's the hard part about my company and field in general.
When you talk about some of these challenging stories, I mean, you helped an elephant in Thailand whose leg was blown off by a landmine. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Almost 2 years ago now, this elephant crossing the Burmese border into Thailand stepped on a landmine. It was about 10 years ago now. It takes elephants' legs a really long time to heal. They were fitted by local prosthetists in Thailand with a prosthesis originally, and they wanted help updating the design, so I went over there, I casted their legs, and helped with the design on the prosthesis that these elephants have now. There's two, one named Moshe and one named Modula.
And what do you make something like that out of for an animal that big and heavy?
A very thick carbon fiber steel for the uprights, and actually car parts, engine parts. You kind of have to be creative with some of these designs.
And so they're walking around, they're fine?
Yeah, it's funny. The elephants do better than almost any other animal I've ever seen. They're very conscious
smart
and aware of obstacles in the way of even their artificial leg, and they can circumduct or lift their leg accordingly by the inch over these little obstacles. It's amazing what they can do.
We know that elephants are very, very intelligent. When you were over there fitting them, What was the interaction with the elephant like? Do you think that they understood that you were there to help them? What was that relationship that you established with them like?
Definitely. Luckily, they've had trainers for a very long time, so they listen to everything they say. I can tell you the night before casting their legs, I was sleeping under a bug net and sweating my butt off, not because of the heat, but because of the anxiety of what I was about to do. And I was thinking I could get trampled, but no, they were the greatest animals I've ever encountered. Like you said, so smart. Their trainers could just tell them to lift that arm right up, and they allowed me to cast that leg like it was nothing.
What is it like helping animals, because they can't thank you in return, but do they show some sort of gratitude towards you?
Definitely. I mean, you can see it in their demeanor, their tails wagging, their eyes sparkling. You can tell when a dog's happy or sad, just like a person's. When we fit these devices on our patients, on these animals, people's pets, we can see when they're happy, and that's all I need to just keep going on. That's the best part of my job.
Any of these really difficult cases that you've had, that you've run into, that you couldn't even tackle yourself?
All the time. That's the hardest part, really, of the job, beyond the lack of communication, is the fact that I can't help every single patient that comes across my table. There are limitations, especially with prosthetics. Insurance is an issue, so we have to be very creative and cost-effective with what we make. Unlike the human side, where these prosthetics can cost $60,000 or $100,000, we have to keep these around $1,000. Animals have fur, so we can't use the same types of suspension that we do in people. So there are definitely limitations, and I'm working every day to broaden my patient base with technology and just things that we can do to change the field and make us be able to see more patients.
If people are watching or listening and they would like to donate to the cause to help you help these other animals, how could they reach you to do so?
AnimalOrthoCare.com. There is a donate now button. We use all that money to fit dogs and animals from sanctuaries and rescue groups that can't afford these types of devices. So that's how we get them adopted a lot of the time, is just fitting these nice devices on them.
Are there any other animals that you like? Do you work on birds? Are there any that you won't work on? If I have a pet lizard who has to have his leg removed, can you make a little one for that guy?
Not necessarily. Sometimes we use 3D printing on certain things. For example, if there is a bird or dog over in Australia, they can actually take a CT or MRI and send that to us through an email, and we can take that and 3D print a positive mold and build upon that. I'm actually doing a talon for an eagle's foot right now. I've done sheep, deer, llama, goat, like you said, elephant, turtles, tons of different things. Like I said, there are limitations to what we can do. I'm always keeping an open mind, and I definitely get an email every day that's a lizard or guinea pig, so I try when I can.
That's actually reminds me of another article that you had sent me, Kimberly, about the bald eagle. Do you remember that one?
Yes, and the beak.
Yeah, I think
they 3D printed.
I think it was shot off. Are you familiar with the story, Derrick?
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with every prosthetic story, believe me.
Yeah.
So basically, I think the bald eagle's beak was shot off. I don't know if intentionally or accidentally by a hunter, but it was completely missing.
And he can't eat.
And then he can't eat, right? And he's going to starve to death. So they built a prosthetic beak. That must have been pretty difficult.
Yeah, they did that with a toucan as well. So they 3D printed a prosthetic beak for those two just so they can survive.
Derrick, as an animal lover, I am confident that there is a special place in heaven for you, sir.
We try our hardest to see as many patients and help as many patients as we can, and that's our goal, is just to really raise awareness about the field. I think that not a lot of people know that these technologies exist, and we're here to not only elongate the lives of their pets, but also save people a lot of money. The biggest thing we do is we fit knee braces on dogs that have ruptured ACLs, and we can actually get them to heal if they're a partial tear for a fraction of the cost non-surgically. So that's one thing that people don't realize.
Thank you so much. Certified orthotist in Virginia named Derrick Campana. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Guys.
Dr. Doolittle, Derrick.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
What a cool nickname.
I know.
Have a good day, guys.
Thanks a lot,
Take care,
Derrick.
brother.
Wow, just stuff like that gets to me because they're so helpless.
Well, and there's so many people that don't care.
I know.
You know, they don't care about their animals. So somebody that goes out of their way and makes it a career helping animals, you gotta love somebody
It's a
like
good thing.
that.
Make sure you stay tuned because coming up after the break, our Back to Life segment.